Today we're going to learn how to summarize when the text gets harder. Last year, my sister took my nieces to Disneyland. My younger niece was telling me about it, and she kind of sounded like this. First we went on It's a Small World, but really first we had to wait in line for like 25 minutes, and there were all these dolls from lots of places, and they sing, but you're on the water, but it's not scary because you only move like 1 mile an hour. And I'm thinking, stop! Oh my goodness, stop, it's too much. If I wanted to know everything, I would have gone with you. Can't you just give me a summary of what happened? That got me thinking about our work with summaries. As text gets tougher, the work of summarizing becomes even more complex, but even more necessary. Today I want to teach you that when readers summarize complex nonfiction texts, they craft short versions of the text. These summaries tend to include the author's main ideas, how those main ideas relate to each other, and the key supportive details. Earlier, when we studied what makes it a challenge to determine the main idea of a complex nonfiction text, we notice that texts now have more than one main idea. There may be one main idea for one part, then another main idea for another part, or the main ideas might thread across the text. The important part as a reader is to be able to think about how these main ideas go together and relate to each other. Let's look at this idea with a section from When Lunch Fights Back. Read this section and ask yourself, what main ideas is this text teaching? How do those ideas relate to each other or go together? Also note key sentences that provide evidence for the main idea. We'll use what we find to craft a summary together. Let's read together the science behind the story. While slogging through a rainforest in French Guiana, scientists Thomas Bourguignon and Jan Subotnik came upon a colony of North Tarakoa termites. They noticed something odd as they watched the insects go in and out of their nest. Some termite workers had blue spots on their back. Intrigued, Bourguignon grabbed one with a forceps. The termite promptly burst. Very carefully, the scientists collected several blue-spotted workers and examined them more closely. The blue spots, they discovered, were tiny pouches filled with blue crystals. We exported some of the termites to our lab in the Czech Republic, where a team of biochemists analyzed them, explained Bourguignon. The crystals turned out to be a copper-containing protein. Related proteins are secreted in termites' digestive tract, but no one had ever seen pouches full of this protein on a termite's back. Obviously, the crystal-filled pouches are some sort of defensive weapon, but how did it work? The scientists dissected a blue-spotted worker under a microscope. Beneath her crystal-filled pouches, they discovered a set of salivary glands. Mixing saliva from these glands with some of the blue crystals instantly forms a toxic liquid. The scientists suspect that when blue-spotted workers are attacked, they somehow break open their crystal-filled pouches and the underlying salivary glands. Crystals and saliva combine, forming a drop of toxic liquid that bubbles up out of the termite's back. Obviously, N. Tarakoa workers avoid triggering the mixing of the blue crystals and saliva, as this causes their death, said Bourguignon. However, when they are bitten by an enemy, then they trigger their weapon. This self-sacrifice is the last chance for the N. Tarakoa workers to harm their enemies. It's a very effective sacrifice. Every enemy within range drops dead. Whew, that was a tricky read. But what do we think are the main ideas from this section? Well, you could say that termites use defenses on their bodies for protection. And scientists ask questions and research to find answers. Both of those were contained in there, so let's think about how these ideas go together. Scientists' research, the questions they asked and explored, are what led the discovery about how the termites fend off enemies. Let's think about what we just read. In this section, Rebecca Johnson teaches that research led to discovering how termites fight off their enemies. Now we need supporting details. Remember, we can't list every supporting details. It would be too much. So we've got to prioritize which details are the strongest. So take another look at the text and decide what details are the strongest to support our two main ideas. Remember that supportive details are threaded throughout the section rather than grouped all together. Try to sum it up in your own words. Pause the video right now while you reread this section, looking for supporting details. So, how do you write a summary? Basically, we're giving an introduction, which includes the main idea, and giving supporting details. This is very similar to what we did with our informational writing topics. Okay, so let's try to write this thing. In this section, Rebecca Johnson teaches that research led to discovering how termites fight off their enemies. This is our introduction. It's combining both main ideas that we thought of before. One main idea is that scientists ask questions and research to find answers. That's our first main idea. These scientists asked what the blue pouches were made of. That's our supporting detail. Another main idea is that termites use their bodies to kill their enemies. That's our second main idea. Here comes the supporting detail. They carry packs that burst open when they're attacked. That's it. That's the summary. You might notice that I included Rebecca Johnson, saying that Rebecca Johnson teaches us that research led to discovering how termites fight off their enemies. We need to acknowledge the author in our summaries. So we might say something like, according to, and then name the author, or the author goes on to explain, share, claim, but name them. And then another option might be the author, Rebecca Johnson in this case, shows or gives evidence to support or state, things like that. But we do want to give the author credit. Readers, this work summarizing isn't just a one-time assignment. This is work you'll do from now on when you read nonfiction. You'll read a chunk and then pause. Say back the main ideas that the author just taught you, how those main ideas fit together, and then find key supporting details. This work is transformative. Try it, and I bet you'll find you start holding on to what the author is teaching you even more. This is a look at a student's writing before and after. You can see that before, their summary was really, really long. It was almost like they'd written a paper about it. After, they've got a main idea, they've told details that support their main idea, they've listed a second main idea and a supporting detail. It also includes the introduction, that beginning sentence that combines both main ideas together as one sentence. It's as easy as that. For today's assignment, you'll read the passage. Then you'll create an introduction stating both main ideas. Be sure to give the author credit. Then state the first main idea. Add a sentence that is a supporting detail that you found in the text. Do the same thing for the second main idea. Just be sure to add your supporting detail. It's as easy as that.